Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast that's on a boat, because this week we watched Legend of the Sea Devils.
Written by Ella Road and Chris Chibnall.
Directed by Hao Lu Wang. Oh god, I definitely mispronounced that. I'm so sorry.
And aired on April 17th, 2022.
Yeah, we just watched this
lame
an hour
and boring.
ago. Keon, not mincing words or time.
Unlike the episode itself, right?
Well, surprisingly, I actually don't think this episode minced time or words. You know, maybe not a lot happened, but it felt like it was moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour the whole episode. Surprisingly.
Yeah, I just meant it kind of wasted people's time, specifically ours.
Well, I don't know.
It was what I feared it would be, which is filler and just boring.
It gave you an excuse to drive across town to watch the episode on my couch.
I mean, with gas prices being what they are, that might not be a good thing. But yes, we watched this in person together as we did for the entire season of Flux. And that was, as Dylan referenced before I cut him off, that was just about half an hour ago. I think we finished watching it.
Yeah, about 8:50,
a little
8:20.
Over. Yeah, about 45 minutes ago. And here we are recording. For the first time in over 2 years, we are recording immediately after having watched the episode.
Yeah.
We were talking about it before we started recording.
Our opinions are fresh. What else was I going to say? Tempered. I was also going to say something else. Oh, we'll actually remember the plot of the episode.
Yeah, well,
hopefully.
Maybe not. Speak for yourself type thing, right? I took notes, but that doesn't mean anything, right?
My favorite moment
given my track record
was when you, at one point you were like, oh, I haven't taken a single note in 7 minutes, and you picked up your phone to write something down.
Yeah, probably something stupid that... Okay, whatever. We don't need to get into how awful my notes typically are, but... It's fairly... I think it comes through. It's fairly obvious. But anyway. Legend of the Sea Devils. There was a lot of... Again, tempered... There were a lot of Sea Devils, but again, there was a lot of, tempered expectations for this episode. Before recording... Or before the episode aired, a lot of the opinions that I was kind of seeing online were... very, very apathetic towards the episode. I think I feel this way too, and I think other people do as well, based on what I've seen. Is that people are generally not excited for the end of the 13th Doctor's era, whether that's because they disliked the era as a whole, or just because of the piecemeal nature of how we're getting the ending to all of this, right? Spread out over the course of basically a year.
Yeah, well, I don't think the piecemeal nature itself is necessarily the reason why there's some apathy around this. I think the piecemeal nature can work, as evidenced by the fact that it did kind of work. There wasn't this kind of apathy during the Russell T Davies sort of hiatus, but I think it's the fact that there's basically no marketing right now. The BBC is delaying, or Chris Chibnall or whoever has decided to do this as a bunch of specials with 3 months, 4 months between each episode, but the BBC did almost no marketing for these things. I mean, the trailer for this episode only came out 2 weeks ago, for crying out loud. We didn't know anything about this episode except that the Sea Devils were in it until 2 weeks ago. And I think the vast majority of people might have even forgotten there was an episode airing on Easter this year.
Yeah, I forgot that as well. I didn't forget the episode was airing. I just forgot it was Easter. Yeah, that might be the thing too. Doctor Who is not really typically associated with the Easter special, so...
Yeah, the last one was, Planet of the Dead? The one on the desert planet?
Yeah, I guess.
The one with Lady Christina. Lady Christina, the character who Big Finish decided this is the one everybody wants a spin-off about, and gave us a spin-off about Lady Christina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
thanks, Big Finish.
With any luck, maybe maybe Madam Ching or Ji Hun, or any of these.
Ji Hun.
Mm-hmm.
Will what, get their own spin-off?
Right. That's what I was attempting to say, but didn't.
Give it a couple of years. Big Finish will come around.
Well, that's years off if it's coming at all. So what do we think now, right? What is Legend of the Sea Devils? What is its essence?
What is its essence?
Yeah,
I was gonna say that I kind of saw the same thing as you online. Some apathy, some. I wouldn't say it was all apathetic. There were some people out there who really love this episode, and actually, perhaps surprisingly for the Chibnall era. And this was something we saw a lot during Flux and Eve of the Daleks. There was always people who vitriolically hated on the episode, but I surprisingly haven't actually seen that for this episode. Most of the opinions I've seen have been either pretty much just apathetic, neutral, or the smattering of people who really liked this episode. I haven't seen anybody come out and be like, Legend of the Sea Devils was the worst episode that Chris Chibnall has ever written. Although the IMDb reviews may be different, but IMDb reviews are always a little bit of a weird, almost always a little bit of an anomaly in some aspects. Like on Twitter, I haven't seen any vitriolic hate for this episode.
It has been just pretty lukewarm. No real love for it, but no real true hatred like we got with the rest of the Chris Chibnall era. But just give it some time. It's been less than a week. Time is said to heal all wounds, but maybe in the case of Doctor Who, it just continually rips them open. I don't know. Speaking of time, there's some shenanigans with time in the episode, which contributed to how it felt like it was moving at a mile a minute.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the episode, it felt like there was no time to breathe. It kind of felt like some scenes were cut. It felt like we were just jumping right into the exposition. And then I was like, what is going on? I can't keep up. Slow down.
It felt like, what's that movie where the guy's his arm trapped under a boulder or something? It's like 20-something days later. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That happens in a couple movies.
I know, yeah.
Well, so you aren't exactly giving me a lot of information to guess which one you're specifically talking about here.
Well, it doesn't really matter. This episode kind of felt like that, right? It kind of felt like just a boulder falling on you out of nowhere, maybe crushing your legs a little bit. Who knows?
A little bit. Just a little light leg crushing. A little light leg crushing for your weekend.
Yeah, well, to the point where you can't, move or can't get out. Except there's no 28 days later about it. It's because it just moves super fast, right? It feels like those 28 days are just condensed into 28 seconds.
Oh, you wanted to get your leg out from under the boulder. Pff, sorry, dog.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's not happening.
Hey, speaking of rocks, this episode rocks. No, it doesn't. Speaking of rocks, this episode starts.
Rock is in this episode.
Right. It's. I mean, the MacGuffin of the episode, if you can call it that, is a rock.
Yes. So Madame Ching enters a town, and a man kind of yells out, "We need to stop her from getting to the statue." Pan up to reveal a statue of Dwayne the Rock Jones.
No, it's a statue of a sea devil. We don't know this is Madame Ching yet. She's just clearly some sort of pirate. Leave it to the Chris Chibnall.
Yeah, might as well call her by her name.
True.
Though.
Leave it to the Chris Chibnall era of bringing in sort of fringe historic figures. Right, Madame Ching is a character or a person, I guess, from history that I had heard about. I think, but I would never like she wouldn't be the first. If someone was like, "Hey, name a historical figure," right? I would never name her.
Yeah.
She was a historical figure, right? I'm not making that up.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Here, I'll read you a sentence off her Wikipedia page. Born as Shi Yang in 1775 to humble origins, she married a pirate named Zheng Yi at age 26 in 1801. We're going to stop right there because I know that if we read any more, I'm going to make a lot of mispronunciations, and I don't want to embarrass myself on the podcast.
It's a little late for that, but all right.
You're right, 351 episodes into this show, really closer to 400 episodes. If I haven't embarrassed myself on this show at least once, that would be a shocker.
So some chaos ensues. A couple people clearly don't want her to find the statue. One of them goes after her, so it's a father and son, right? So the father goes after her.
Yeah.
They kind of have a little bit of a scuffle.
She just kind of smacks the statue and then it immediately just kind of explodes. Not exactly a very secure holding cell, but anyway.
It clearly unleashes some sort of otherworldly force. Although not really otherworldly, because again, as you mentioned while we were watching the episode, you kind of have to remind yourself of this, but the Sea Devils are not really aliens. They're from Earth.
Yeah, they're
in fact,
from
they are
Earth.
the original species, the original dominant species on the planet or whatever. At least the Silurians were. I'm not sure about the Sea Devil, to be honest, but yeah.
I don't even remember the explanation, but weren't the Sea Devils some sort of... I don't know. They were another species of Silurian, weren't they? Or they were a side species, a subspecies?
Yes, they were an offshoot of the Silurians. I don't remember how, I don't remember if they ever went into any more detail than that, but they are related somehow to the Silurians. The TARDIS wiki here refers to the Silurians as their being the Sea Devils, land-based cousins.
Yeah, I just literally read the exact same line.
I guess it was the Sea Devils controlled the Earth.
The Sea Devils
the
were
Silurians
related.
Controlled the land.
Yeah, I'm looking at the first line of the biology. It says the Sea Devils were related to the Silurians, though they were genetically divergent enough to create problems for the offspring of such matings.
Damn, there's a book, I guess, that deals with that, entitled The Scales of Injustice.
Oh, I've read about this book before on the wiki before. It's a Third Doctor and Liz Shaw novel.
Huh?
It's the one that that actually tries to give Liz Shaw a proper write-out instead of lol, she left. Happened on the actual show.
Anyway, we go to our heroes, our intrepid trio here. They show up on the beach. Dan is dressed for the occasion, but not this occasion. As far as he knows so far.
Yeah, Yaz and the Doctor are wearing, let's say, vaguely Chinese outfits.
Mm-hmm.
And Yaz has humorously dressed Dan up in a foppish TV pirate uniform.
Right, he's when Cartman on South Park went to Somalia to join up with a band of Somalian pirates, but he was wearing an eye patch and a hook hand and stuff like that.
The Doctor thinks this is hilarious.
And she's right.
Partially. She's also kind of mad at Yaz for doing this.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, in town, a massacre is occurring. A Sea Devil has a sword. It's not a normal sword though. It's not like a lightsaber, but it's sort of a high tech, high powered sword. And this Sea Devil is just mowing through the entire town, just making up for its racist failures all in one go. All those other times the Sea Devils failed and messed up completely, having their plans completely blown to smithereens by the Doctor or whoever else. All that's okay now, right? Because this Sea Devil is sort of incredibly efficient.
Yeah, the one thing I actually really liked about this episode, say what you will, is that I really actually liked the villain in this episode for some reason.
Wow.
He was just so ruthless, but at the same time, his costume is like so goofy. Like, he looks so cute is maybe not exactly the right word, but he looks so cute, and yet he's just like mowing down all of these people in the town, and I just found it so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, no, there is a bit of a difference between the Sea Devil appearance in this episode versus the classic Sea Devils. And you're right, there is, like, that difference is a difference of, like, adorableness or something, right? Is like, the older Sea Devils look like, they're not scary, but they look like monsters. They look at least a little intimidating. The new ones do too, actually, but they're less round. They're less, they're less expressive too, which I think contributes. These new ones are definitely, they're cuter. They look sort of softer and more cuddly, in a way, and they look kind of uncanny too, to be honest, when they talk and move, and their throats kind of bulge in and out.
Yeah, it seems like this Sea Devil has some sort of, never stated in the episode, perhaps in a deleted scene, like translator necklace around his neck. Like, the necklace glows every time he talks, but not when he's not talking. So I kind of assumed it was some sort of translation network, but I mean necklace, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good guess / good assumption. I would also assume the same thing. I didn't really notice what you're talking about, but yeah.
Well, anyway, we get the title sequence. Keon is like, this is the second to last time we're going to watch this on a brand new episode. And I was like, yeah, that's true. The end is nigh.
It is, and that just makes this episode even more of a stake, right? Either getting driven through my heart or just like charred and inedible. Or like bloody and raw, either or, just, disappointing all around and painful.
Wow, you're being really harsh on this story.
I legitimately think, again, our opinions are untempered because we just watched it. At least mine are. I'll speak for myself. I legitimately think this is probably the worst, one of the worst, if not the single worst episode of the Chris Chibnall era. Yep.
Really?
I can't think of one that's worse than this, or that I consider to be more boring, or that I was more apathetic to than this one. Because I've liked pretty much all of them so far since the woman who fell to Earth. I've at least enjoyed to a small degree all of them.
Quite frankly, I don't remember half the episodes. I'm like literally pulling up an episode list right now. Yeah, I guess I didn't really strongly dislike any of these episodes.
Yeah, same.
Oh well. Oh well. You can't win them all, I suppose.
That also contributes to the weirdness of this episode, which we commented on a lot while watching it. It's not only the uncanniness of the Sea Devils kind of throwing you off and throwing you for a loop, it's just like 10 minutes into the episode, you remarked that this doesn't even feel real or something like that, and I was like, yeah, I know what you mean. Because it did feel like we were just about to wake up and it would all have just been a dream or something, but yeah, I don't exactly know how to put it into words. Those untempered opinions again, but yeah, something about this just doesn't, it doesn't feel real. It feels off visually and narratively and maybe even auditorily. Visually feels...
I feel like it was a directing thing. I mean, when I was watching it, I was like, the directing of this episode just feels so drastically different than everything else we've watched in this era that it feels almost antithetical to the writing in a way, because Chibnall's writing isn't necessarily the most action-packed most of the time, most of Flux notwithstanding.
Yes.
But even Flux was at least a little contemplative at times, whereas this episode, it feels like maybe there was parts of the episode that when they were written were a little more introspective, a little slower, a little more analytical, but the way that this was directed and cut together in the editing room just almost feels like they took all that out to try and make it feel very exciting for the entire 47 minutes of the episode. I think one of us made the comment that this was like the entirety of Flux compressed to one episode almost.
Yeah, there is almost no room to breathe, is there? Maybe until that moment when the Doctor, I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but like maybe until that moment where the Doctor really confronts the Sea Devil as to what its plan is, which is to like reverse the polarity of the planet and cause mass worldwide flooding. That's really the first moment where I like kind of got a grasp of, or like kind of felt like I've had my footing with the episode. It was the first moment where it felt like it was kind of slowing down and sort of, embedding you in what's actually happening instead of just one action-packed moment to the next. And
yeah, because as soon as the title sequence ends, for example, it's like as soon as it ends, the TARDIS lands and they're thrown into the middle of the battle where the Sea Devil is killing everyone in the town.
It just moves at this breakneck pace from there, and it's we'll get to this in a second, but it's the cuts too, where it just kind of cuts between shots or scenes that just are it's so abrupt, and it's like you see it that entire thing is preempted in this scene where they're fighting the Sea Devil, and bam, all of a sudden they set up this trap, and the Sea Devil is just immediately caught, and you're like, okay, you kind of you get it, right? They set up this trap off screen in the 2 seconds they had to do so, but it's like in the moment there's a split second of whoa, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just jump into it.
That is only propounded as the episode goes on. Those moments of wait, what?
I mean, that trap is the perfect example, because when it happened, I was like, wait, when did they set that up? How did they set that up? Why did they set that up? The Sea Devil, besides the fact that they didn't watch the Sea Devil kill anyone.
They just showed, they showed up in the town. The town was full of dead bodies, right? So.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so they're making an assumption.
God. I mean, he's brandishing a sword and speaking in evil, tones or whatever, but
Madame Ching is also brandishing a sword and speaking evilly.
So she has that factor of recognizability.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Seems a little racist, Keon.
Speciesist, but yeah, this episode is like when you're doing copywriting or whatever, or business writing, which I do on the daily, maybe perhaps unfortunately, perhaps not though, but anyway, if you're not doing it well, you create moments that make the reader go wait, what? And then if they read on a little bit, they'll be like, okay, I understand. But you kind of have to piece together, and you try and avoid those moments, right? This episode kind of felt like that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's fiction, and it's art, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be a certain way, but it still had those moments.
No, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a certain way, but the way that it is explains why we didn't necessarily like it.
Yeah, right? Again, as we go on through this scene, another outlandish thing happens, just quick as a whip. As soon as they capture the Sea Devil, it gets out of the trap because it has a sword.
Yeah, duh. It's really?
Yeah. Yeah. It even says, in a classic bout of Chris Chibnall-isms explaining what's happening on screen as it happens, it's I got out of my trap. I got out of that trap because I had a sword. What did you expect?
The doctor goes, oh, oops.
All of a sudden, an evil cloud rolls through, and in it is contained a
ship.
Sci-fi fantasy ship. It's sci-fi. It's not fantasy.
It's like a pirate ship. It's a pirate ship that's flying thanks to the aid of like sci-fi tech on the bottom of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
The Sea Devil Super Mario hops onto the ship, as you commented.
Well, because, like, when he jumps with the one leg forward and the one leg back. It looks exactly like freaking, like, little Super Mario jumping. Like, yeah. Catch you later, Doctor.
Oh, my God.
That devolved into Mickey Mouse at the end of that sentence.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Anyway, the ship flies off.
And then like, all of a sudden, like, completely, again, another one of these moments that makes you go, wait, what? And then you just go, okay, I guess. Dan's talking with the kid whose name was said, like, once in the episode, and I missed it, but according to the credits is Ying Wei. He says, like, I'm going to avenge my dad by killing Madame Ching. So it's like, we're going to swim to the boat. And Dan's like, we shouldn't swim to the boat. And, like, you're just like, wait, why is Madame Ching on the boat all of a sudden? How did she get to the boat? Where's the doctor and Yaz? What's going on?
We skipped a little bit. They examine the dead body of... what was his name? I already forgot. Oh, Ying Wei.
Ying Wei, Ying something.
Wait, was that the father or was that the son?
It's the son.
I think Ying Wei is the father. I'm pretty sure Ying Qi is the son. Yes, that is correct. I just looked up their pages on the TARDIS wiki.
I don't think that's correct. According to Madame Ching's page, it says Zhang proceeded to fight alongside the Doctor, Yaz, Dan, Ji-hoon, and Wei for possession of it, meaning the necklace.
Well, according to the cast
fight ended,
list...
And then it says, following the fight and with Ji-hoon's permission, Zhang offloaded the treasure of the Flora de la Mar from Ji-hoon's ship onto her own. She noted that it was enough to return her crew to her. Claiming him as her responsibility, she invited Wei to join her crew and subsequently rebuked him when he hugged her.
Well, one of these pages is wrong. I think it's the one you're reading. Because if you go on the cast list, Qi is the son, and Wei is the father. Yeah, David KSC is like, if you go on his page, it's like an older guy, indicating it's the guy who played the father, and then Marlo Chan Reeves is the son. So I don't know. You know what? I don't know.
I've honestly, fine. Maybe Key is the son.
Oh, wait, I have IMDb open. Let me just check.
Well, IMDb has the same credits as... I just looked. It has the same credits as the TARDIS wiki page, but that doesn't help.
I know, but if you can go to the actors' pages and see what they look like.
Oh, there's no picture on the guy who played Ying Key's page. There's no picture on his IMDb page.
Well, blogterwho.com says the same configuration.
So Wikipedia.
Oh my god! Why is this
says
so hard?
Because their names weren't given in the freaking episode. Okay, Wikipedia says that Ying Key is the son, and since the pictures back that interpretation up, we're gonna go with that.
Yeah. So Key is the son. All right.
Key's the son.
Why did we even start talking about this? Like, what were we...
You were saying that they investigate the dead body of the dad because that's when the doctor's like, this is Sea Devil technology.
Right, it's exotoxic poisoning. So they discover...
Whatever that means.
So Key believes that Madame Ching killed his father. The body indicates that that's not the case because he was killed actually by poison spreading throughout his body.
but for some reason he still wants to go kill Madame Ching.
Madame Ching...
I shouldn't say for some reason. She unleashed the Sea Devil, so she is still directly responsible for his dad's death.
Yeah, she's responsible for it, and she has... Doesn't she have, like, a line saying, like... Maybe this was before, but she has, like, a line saying, like, I'm gonna kill you, or, like, she even... It might have been that she even says to Key, like, I might not have killed your father, but I was going to if the poison didn't, or something like that. It's like some...
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And so that kind of gets under his skin a little bit. Which prompts him and Dan to go onto the boat after the ship, after Dan realizes, we're on a boat. It's a reference to that 15-year-old meme. Dan realizes he's been left behind by the Doctor and Yaz. So we cut to the Doctor and Yaz saying, like, hey, how do you like us leaving Dan behind?
Okay, a little bit of a simplification, but that's fine. The Doctor and Yaz, okay, again, another moment that makes you go, wait, what? They're like, okay, so we're going to go to the past to try to figure out where the treasure of the Fleur de la Mar is hidden, so we're going to go back in time to see the ship sink, so we know where the treasure is.
Right, because...
So that we have something to bargain with Madame Ching, because for some reason they think that she knows what's going on.
She had indicated before that her ultimate goal was to find the treasure.
Yes.
But meanwhile, on the Sea Devil ship flying through the skies, the main Sea Devil is rallying the troops. Now, there are a lot of Sea Devils in this episode. I think this episode probably... depicts the most of them on screen at once, that we've ever seen. Which is,
Yeah, but the Merca counts as 20 Sea Devils, so obviously we have to give the accolade to Warriors of the Deep.
It should count as, like, -20 or something. Like, just every time it's on screen, it's like bullet through the skull moment, but... But this actually speaks to something cool, not particular to this episode, but just that, like, evolving technology... changes stories, right? Like, this previously could not have been done, at least not in the same way that it was here, where you're seeing them all on screen at once. Now, this wasn't a major part of the story, so you can't really say that it was being used to great effect here. But the idea is still the same, right? Is that, like, in previous Sea Devil stories, you could not have had this mass of Sea Devils being rallied by their leader. Right, because you just couldn't have had that many costumes.
Mm-hmm.
You would have, if they had a scene like this, it would have had to have been obfuscated and just done through the tricks of directing and tricks of the camera, as the Merca was done in a way, as the Merca was being hidden.
Yeah, except you could, yeah, because the Merca showed up on set and they went, "What in God's name is that costume?"
I know we speak of the weird directing in a story, but, like, in a way that is a constant, seemingly, for Sea Devil stories, because in Warriors of the Deep there was a very clear effort to direct in such a way that hid the Merca costume to the greatest extent.
So this is truly a sequel to Warriors of the Deep.
But hey, it's also a sequel to the Sea Devils, because it includes... I mean, in a way, it does include...
The Sea Devils?
Well, it includes the Sea Devils, but it includes sword fighting, right? And I think, the Sea Devils, that's the story entitled The Sea Devils, like, it was the first real major sword fight on Doctor Who, and still one of the only ones. Remember the Doctor versus the Master?
When the Doctor and the Master were fencing.
Yeah.
That was after the Master watched Clangers, right?
Yep.
Was that in the Sea Devils?
Yes, it was. Yes, indeed it was.
I was just looking at the Sea Devils page. The Doctor looks on resigningly as the Master gets away once again.
Now, maybe you can even stretching the connection a little thin here, but, like, you can even say that the cuter depiction of the Sea Devils is indeed a reference to Clangers, right? A sort of a...
I don't think so.
Clangers, I believe, is still around. It's still... They make episodes of it, I think.
I forgot the Clangers scene is only inserted because the episode was 90 seconds short.
Man, what a weird thing to do. It's like, well, we have 90 seconds that we need to add. What if we just add a reference to a contemporary children's show?
Oh, God. Anyway, the Doctor and Yaz discover that the Fleur de la Mars sank because Ji-hun made a deal with a Sea Devil who then betrayed him and killed him and took his ship. So they were like, shoot.
He literally made a deal with the devil, right? The Sea Devil. Oh man, the Modern Clangers. The Modern Clangers is narrated by William Shatner.
Is this a Clangers podcast now? How did we get here?
Yeah, sorry, I was just on the Clangers Wikipedia page, so I just decided to...
American, that's the American version.
Right,
the American
superior version that people care about. I'm just kidding, I don't know.
You just lost us our entire UK audience. They immediately have turned off the podcast. Granny Clanger, Major Clanger, Mother Clanger, Small Clanger,
these are like the Smurfs, like the naming scheme is the same. Sky Moos.
Large flying blue cow-like creatures. They're always hungry. Damn, Sky Moos sound awesome.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Why does cow-like... I'm just literally reading the other inhabitants of the Clangers universe, and it says Sky Moos.
Man, why is every British children's show just like on acid? You know, like the Teletubbies, Clangers, like.
Yeah, every British show for kids is like this week on,
on whatever, and it's just like literally
Bang,
a post-apocalyptic
Rin Tin
Tin wasteland or something.
Yeah, five intrepid main characters. Our 4 to 5 intrepid main characters, fuzzy, adorable creatures from hell, decide to explore the hellscape that is the post-apocalyptic world left behind after humans have destroyed the Earth. These 4 to 5 creatures display a rudimentary understanding of technology and will explain to the audience mathematics on a kindergarten level. Join them and their strange post-apocalyptic creatures. Okay, I can't go on. No, I can't go on. I'm done. No more.
All right, you can tell we really don't want to talk about this episode, so... Yeah.
So the Doctor and Yaz go to the location where the sunken ship, where Ji-hun's sunken ship should have been,
the mutiny?
And it's not there.
We should mention, I think, if we haven't already, Ji-hun decides to betray the Sea Devils, which causes a massive fight. Most of his crew seems to die. That's not exactly the case, as we see later.
Well, he's like... It's unclear whether he's betraying the Sea Devils or working under their orders, but he's forcing everybody to jump off his ship. He's basically telling them, like, jump off the ship or I'll kill you myself. And they're like, oh shit, okay, bye. Yeah. And the Sea Devil turns on Ji-hun. We find out later that Ji-hun did this to try spare their lives because they were going to get killed by the Sea Devils anyway, so...
yeah,
whatever,
there is honor among pirates.
Anyway, the wreck of his ship isn't where it should be. And while the Doctor and Yaz are there, they have some flirtatious commentary.
Yes. Now, this is a scene that is very typical to Doctor Who, right? Is that the Doctor and a companion sort of look out. Usually it's on the vastness of space. But here it's the vastness and, for some reason, brightness of the bottom of the ocean. Right? This is the brightest area of the ocean possible. There's, you actually go down there to the depths of the ocean in real life, and which people haven't even been down to, but, like, it's pitch black. That's why you get those, like, fish that produce their own light and stuff like that. But it looks cool. It looks very sort of picturesque. And the reason why it's a typical scene for Doctor Who is that usually this is accompanied by some sort of flirtatious or romantic behavior, which in this case is 100% true. They typically pick the worst times to do this.
Also true.
Yeah, well, it's like...
in this episode, I mean.
Yeah, back in, what was it, Eve of the Daleks, there was, like, that moment where, like, Yaz came clean to Dan about her feelings for the Doctor, and it's like, my friend, we have 2.5 minutes in this time loop. Why are you discussing this now?
I know in this episode it's like, yes, my friend, I love you, but we are literally 90 seconds away from the entire Earth being flooded. Can we talk about this
we're about to go
time?
We're about to go Noah's Ark 2.0, and this is not the time. I actually kind of like that, though, in a way. Things just seem to slow down. It's like, all right, we have 5 seconds before we all die, and then they just take 20 seconds in the scene. It's like, okay, there's something I like about that. Right, it's a little subversive. It's very Chibnall-esque in that sense that it is subversive. Because if there's one thing Chris Chibnall does, more power
to you. If you like it, more power to you.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor makes a Stephen King reference by saying that Stephen King movies, like real history, are never like the books.
Yeah, it was the other way around from how you said it, but yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, there's a giant sea monster that eats or attempts to eat the TARDIS. I don't remember the name of the sea monster at all.
It was the Merca, right? No, it wasn't.
We made that joke while we were watching this.
I don't know if did it really have a name? I don't know.
It had a name that because Madame Ching is like, oh, I thought it was just a myth.
Oh, right. Cthulhu. I don't know. Yeah, no.
Well, whatever. This giant sea creature has no bearing on the episode and is in fact involved in a scene that feels like the Clangers insert where it's padding out the runtime, where it just kind of trolls as fisherman for a minute.
And kills him, don't forget that.
Okay, I mean, yes.
Yeah, you're right. Getting trolled truly is more important here because it is worse than death. I would rather put a bullet through my skull, as I mentioned before, than be subject of trolling on the internet. Because guess what? Life is impermanent, but everything on the internet is forever. Your embarrassment is caught, trapped forever in time for all to see if they want to.
Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Because this sea monster dumps the Doctor and Yaz right into the Sea Devil base, where the lead Sea Devil is like, look, I might kill you, but I won't kill you right away. There's some interesting parallels here between Yaz and the Doctor being stowaways in the Sea Devil base, and Dan and Yin Ki being stowaways on Madame Ching's ship, which we should get back to them, actually, because Madame Ching's about to kill them when Dan's like, you have no crew. I bet you need some people to crew this ship. And she's like, I guess.
I know, we completely skipped that entire...
Well, it happens simultaneously with this scene.
Yeah, I guess. There is one thing good that I'll say about this episode is that there's certain good visual storytelling and visual cues for things, like how when the Doctor and Dan and Yaz first arrive, you see Madame Ching's ship just out in the background.
He's just floating out on the ocean.
Yeah, just kind of indicating that that's a part of the episode and kind of foreshadowing that they're going to go there. This, too, is another good moment of it where they board the ship, and they say it almost immediately, but the episode does give you a minute to be like, wait a minute, there's no crew, right? And then they kind of go into why that's the case, and so it kind of works out.
You find out there's no crew immediately because Dan, in true Chris Chibnall fashion, goes, there's no crew on this boat. And then Madame Ching captures them.
I know.
And then he goes, there are no crews on this ship. There's no crew on this boat.
We should talk about the Chris Chibnall heavy dialogue. Not Chris Chibnall heavy, but the dialogue is very Chibnall-esque in this episode, to its detriment, I would say. We've poked fun at this before, but this is really a case where it goes overboard, no pun intended, for some reason, where it's like the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue in this episode is just narrating what happens on screen in a very, what is very obviously happening on screen.
Yeah, what was the one that Yaz was talking about? Yaz and the Doctor? Which one was that?
I think, was it when they were on the boat with Ji-hoon and,
Oh yeah,
someone goes
that's what
like
it was.
he's working with the
Yaz
Sea
is
Devils, and then they like betray each other, and he's like, "Oh my God, he's mutinying."
No, so Yaz says, "Oh my God, he's forcing everybody to jump off the boat," and then the Sea Devil shows up.
Right.
The Doctor goes, "Oh my God, he's working with the Sea Devils."
Yeah, so much of the dialogue in this episode was that.
The funniest line of dialogue in this episode was actually right at the beginning when like the Doctor goes Sea Devil and the Sea Devil goes land parasite, and she's like, whoa, 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 no need for name calling. And you're like, wow, yeah, it kind of sucks to be named like Sea Devil. Imagine you're just a peaceful species and just you're going along one day and someone goes, Sea Devil.
I know, we as humans will never experience that because we named ourselves Homo sapiens, right? We named ourselves after intelligence. And, knowledge, actually, or wisdom, right? Sapiens, but, yeah. Sucks to be the Sea Devils. Do the Sea Devils have a name for themselves that isn't Sea Devil, actually? Now that I think about it, I'm not sure, but,
The Aqua Silurians. The Aqualurians.
the better Silurians.
You imagine they just call themselves, they meet a Silurian and like, we're you, but better.
Well, alright, so, you talk about the Sea Devils being Mario-esque. This is the true Mario, like, area of the episode because it's a sunken ship, just sort of a serenely underwater, right? That's the key part of it, right? Is that it's sort of this serene thing, like that one Mario level. You know what I'm talking about, where it's that sunken ship?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah. It's in Mario 64. I'll put a link in the description, or the notes, sorry. YouTube on the brain, I guess. But anyway. What the hell happens next in the episode?
Wow, good question.
I'm skimming through my notes, but I honestly have no idea where we are.
The Sea Devil is... Well, so the Doctor's like, show us the ship, and then I'll tell you about the Keystone. And the Sea Devil's like, all right, I guess. So then the Sea Devil's like, look, I kept Ji-hoon alive for 200 years just for you. And the Doctor goes, wow. Well, not just for you. I'm being facetious. I'm making fun of the episode at this point. And then, so they're talking with Ji-hoon, and he plot dumps that the Keystone was like a mystical piece of technology that could basically do anything. It's a plot MacGuffin. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, the Sea Devil is like off to the side talking with someone, and it comes back and is like, so tell me about the Keystone. The Doctor's like, we'll give you the Keystone if you make a deal. And the Sea Devil's like, yeah, I was just playing. I already know that the Keystone is on Madame Ching's ship, so sucks to be you, Doctor, but we're going to kill you. And then in another moment of like, wait, what just happened? The next scene is like the Doctor and Ji-hoon and Yaz swinging off the boat onto Madame Ching's ship. Although the Doctor does like flip a switch that causes them to go flying up to the surface.
Yeah,
happens.
She messes with some of the controls, and it creates this like vortex thing that sends them up to the surface or something like that. I don't know.
Oh wow, the Chief Sea Devil was played by Craig Else, aka Carvanista.
Oh my god. Yeah, so they jump onto the ship. We learn a little bit... I forget, this might be right after, but we learn a little bit more about Madame Ching's background and what she has at stake, which is that they kidnapped her crew and children. And so she knows, like, the pain of loss, just like Key.
Turns out the Keystone's around Key's neck.
Oh my god, the Keystone, and they named him Key?
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, it's revealed that he's the descendant of Lei Bao, who was Ji-hoon's second in command, essentially.
Mm-hmm. He was ordered to go overboard like the rest of them, but he survived.
Yeah.
This is where my notes stop. I have a few more after this, but
This is where the episode ends.
They're not descriptive.
Well, so what? Do you want me to just plot dump the final 5 minutes of the episode?
I can barely remember what happens, to be honest, and we just watched it.
We just watched this an hour ago, Keon. Come on.
No, but it was so boring, like the last part of it. So.
No worries. I'm gonna hit everybody with a plot dump right here. I'm gonna Chris Chibnall this shit. So the Sea Devil is like, okay, we're taking the Keystone now, and then just like, I guess the Sea Devils gain the power of teleportation, which is the coolest thing in this episode, honestly. But they teleport into the ship. They activate the Keystone, which has turned out to be a plutonic core. And then the Doctor realizes that because it's a plutonic core, that they're actually going to use the ship, Ji-hoon's ship, that is, that they've modded and tricked out and pimped their ride, as the Doctor says, to basically cause the whole Earth to flood so that the Sea Devils can reclaim the entire Earth.
Right. They're basically going to cause multiple ecological disasters. Again, like I mentioned before, this is the one part of the episode where it's like, you finally feel like you have some sort of footing.
The Doctor then is like, we're going to stop you. So there's some fighting. Ji-hoon kills the Sea Devil, and the Doctor's like, hey, you didn't have to do that. Like, why'd you do that? And he's like, I needed to avenge my crew. And she's like, whatever, we don't have time to talk this over. Very War of the Sontarans there. But anyway, she's like, we don't have time. So she goes to solve the problem of the day. And as she's doing so, her and Yaz have a little heart-to-heart on the fact that the Doctor kind of has some feelings for Yaz too. And Yaz is like, you what? And the Doctor's like, let's finish this later because I got to hold this cable and you guys got to run away. She explains that like she's reversing the device so that the like ship's going to become the densest part on Earth, so all the Sea Devils on board will be trapped, but the cable comes undone, and she's going to have to hold it. But then Ji-hoon's like, let me sacrifice myself. I technically died 200 years ago. He also tells Madame Ching to take all the treasure off of the Florida Lamar so that she can save her crew. Yeah, we completely skipped over Madame Ching's entire motivation for this entire episode.
We touched on it slightly.
But basically, her motivation for seeking the treasure of the Florida Lamar was the fact that her entire crew got stolen by another pirate who's holding them captive, and if she doesn't bring him treasure or money, he's going to kill all of them, including her 2 sons. And this, for some reason, makes Key more sympathetic to her cause. Anyway, that's besides the point. Ji-hoon sacrifices himself and saves the day, and that's the end. And then we just have perfunctory wrap-up scenes to go.
Right, one of which includes the Doctor and Yaz having a bit of a talk. The Doctor saying that she doesn't open up to anyone because it invariably and inevitably results in pain.
Check out Inevitable, classic sci-fi podcast.
The Doctor does say that if she did open up to anyone, it would be Yaz, but she doesn't, so it's not.
Well, that's actually the final scene of the episode. So Madame Ching tells Key that he can stay on the ship with her because he's her responsibility now because his dad died because of her. And then the most surprising scene of the whole episode is freaking Dan getting a call from Diane and them talking.
Right. Diane looking completely different than how she did in Doctor Who Flux.
I know.
Or just Flux. I don't have to say Doctor Who because it's a Doctor Who podcast.
Doctor Who Flux. Flux Doctor Who. Doctor Who Flux. I don't know. Anyway. And then, yeah, it's the scene where basically the Doctor says in not as few words as this, but way more words, that Yaz is a human and she's a Time Lord, and Time Lords live for 6 million years and humans don't, and that, like, Yaz will inevitably die long before the Doctor will.
And that's a wrap.
Which, again, she doesn't say in those words, but she says, like, inevitably, like, it's gonna hurt. So, like, can we just appreciate what we have now and just live in the moment? And Yaz,
we skipped this before, but they'd been skipping stones towards the beginning of the episode and somewhat throughout. Yaz gives the Doctor one to skip now and tells her to make a wish. And she just wishes for, like, unlimited wealth and world domination.
She wishes that Gallifrey were back and that she were Lord President again. She wishes she could go back in time to that one time the Master was like, join me and we'll rule the galaxy side by side, so that she could say yes instead of no.
No, she actually just wishes she knew what to wish for and throws a star. No, I'm kidding.
My God, okay, she wishes that this would last forever. Beat, episode ends. Now, normally, the Next Time trailer, and by normally I mean for the first time in the Chris Chibnall era, the Next Time trailer is supposed to be before the credits, but AMC Plus didn't play it before the credits for us, so we had to go look it up on YouTube to watch it afterwards. And quite frankly, I had the Next Time trailer spoiled for me before we even started, and I was like more excited for that than the actual episode, because Ace and Tegan are coming back!
I know, who could have predicted this? Chris Chibnall, the absolute madman, he just flies in the face of all expectation and truly all desire, in a way.
What do you mean? I want Ace and Tegan back. I want to know what they've been up to since the Doctor left them. I want to know what they'll think of the Doctor being a woman now. I want to see Ace beat up more Daleks. I don't necessarily know if Tegan was the first companion I would have thought to bring back, but maybe Janet Fielding was just like, I'm bored. I'll do it.
Yeah, had a gap in her schedule or something. Now, obviously, the Master is in the next episode. I predicted...
As is Ashad, I guess, it looked like.
Yeah. I predicted that the Master would be in this episode because the original Seville story was also a Master story, as we already mentioned. But, no. It would have been cool foreshadowing, though, to foreshadow the Master via the Sea Devils in that way. But, no.
Yeah, well, state of the episode.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of touched on everything I wanted to already.
Me too, actually. This is my least favorite Chris Chibnall episode, but I mean, it's still a far cry from things like Love and Monsters, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I feel so like drained by this episode just because I feel like I had to exert so much mental energy to track some of the plot. I think because this episode more so than any, and this is actually, one thing more I wanted to touch on, I guess, here. Two things, actually. The first being that, like, one thing Chris Chibnall has done is that he doesn't necessarily spell everything out for the audience every time. And I think on the whole I've actually enjoyed that in his era, but I feel like this episode takes that to the extreme, like we were talking about with all the cuts where it's like, oh wait, what just happened? Like it feels like this episode took that idea to like its logical conclusion.
Right, it incorporates it into the directing in a way that previous episodes have not.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the perfect way to say that.
At the same time, though, it counteracts that by including more Chris Chibnall-esque writing than previous episodes have, that just narrate the events of what you're seeing on screen, which would be clear even without the narration. So in a way, it's almost too clear what's happening. You never get that middle ground. It's either completely like almost not these sort of cuts that result in non sequiturs, and there are also some just weird transitions in the episode. Like, I don't know if this was a result of AMC Plus being weird, but like there's some transitions that feel like they're going into an ad break, but they're not. So there's that, and then combined with the cuts that almost feel like non sequiturs, combined with the dialogue that just eliminates the need for like visuals. And you just have this like weird, incongruous smorgasbord, like you're trying to put together. Someone dumped two jigsaw puzzles together, or like half of one jigsaw puzzle, half of another, and told you to solve it, and you're just like, wait, what? And you can't do it, but you don't know why.
And maybe it's that interplay between the dialogue being so explicit and the editing being so like implicit that makes this episode just feel weird to watch.
Yeah, in a way, it should be the other way around. The directing being completely clear, but like the more directing is a narrative aspect, but like the more traditional narrative aspects being more less clear, and usually less clear means more open to interpretation, which means more thematically rich, not necessarily, but like in a way. Yeah, that's sort of like I don't know, like the Kafkaesque or something, right? You read Kafka's works and like what's happening and the way he's narrating the events are like completely clear. It's almost it's rote. It's literally cut and dry. But
right.
Again, you get this PJ Hammond-esque type thing where at the end of it you go like, wait, what the hell? What was that? Versus this, it just comes across as like almost amateurish or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too harsh. Like you said, it wasn't like Love and Monsters tier. It was just worse than everything else Chris Chibnall has given us these past 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to briefly talk about was something that I was thinking about before this episode started, because I had a brief moment of this episode, I guess, spoiled on Twitter. I don't remember who tweeted this. It was a picture of the scene where the doctor says, like, I think you're the most incredible person I've ever met.
And it cuts to the Sea Devil. Like, someone just edited it so it cuts to the Sea Devil.
That would actually be gold. We should tweet that on the Decadent Vegetable account.
I'm too lazy to edit video for
if
social media.
If I edit it, will you tweet it?
I guess. I'm sure. Why not?
All right. Well, anyway. And some people were like, yeah, like, let's just discount like Donna and Rose and Martha and all these other incredible people who the doctor's met for Yaz, the person who's like almost never done anything. And then in the comments, people were like, oh yeah, Yaz, who never did anything, and then like basically listed off like how she survived for 4 years looking for the doctor. She like saved the world like multiple times on end. But anyway, it got me thinking about the use of the personal pronoun I from the doctor, and I was thinking like, yeah, even watching this, I was just like, I just assumed that to mean I as in like I the 13th Doctor and not I the Doctor as a whole being. And that Yaz was one of the most incredible people that the 13th Doctor has met, which is true. And I just thought it was interesting how different people will interpret that exact same line differently, and how some people interpret like when the Doctor says I to mean like I as in my entire 900-year, 13 incarnation, 15 incarnation life, versus, you know, how I interpreted that situation to just mean like I the 13th Doctor. And I also think it's like a context dependent thing a lot of the times, but
yeah, this is interesting because I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. It was like I don't remember if it was a poll, but it was definitely a question. I think a person did put a poll. I'll try and find the tweet if I can. I don't think I'll be able to, but I'll put it in the notes if I can find it. So a person was asking, how do you like the Doctor? Do you like the Doctor better when they are just sort of, when they worded it better than I'm going to, but it was like, do you like the Doctor better when they are when they are just a traveler who accidentally stumbles upon situations and gets in over their head, or do you like the Doctor better when they are depicted as like a sorrowful, melancholic and godlike being type thing? And almost overwhelmingly people said the former, and I tend to agree. But like in a way, the melancholia and like the almost like nostalgia and just like the sort of the sorrowful vibe about the Doctor, which has been the case since the 2005 series really started, is like there's something very like true to life and human about it, right? Even though the Doctor is a Time Lord, which is that like the Doctor as a character in a way kind of distills like something that people go through, like pretty much almost everyone who is alive and who's ever lived, I guess, probably goes throughout their life, which is that like you look back on your past self and it's almost like you're a completely different person, right? And so that the Doctor is like because they're an alien, they're like a very literal interpretation of that, where she looks back and she is like these 12 different people across her life, but that's really like, in a way, the Doctor is maybe sort of a relatable, or not, maybe not relatable, but at least an understandable character, even if that's subconscious, because that's almost everyone has that, right, where you look back and across these different periods of your life, and there's congruity between them, but there's still clear moments where you can look back and be like, am I really the same person I was when I was 15 or when I was 20? And usually the answer is no.
Yeah, I mean, you said everything. I don't think there's anything I can add to that. You said everything pretty succinctly.
For once.
It's also just like the concept of regeneration like distills an entire lifetime down to a moment. Like you were saying, people look back on their own lives and they're like, wow, I was a completely different person 5 years ago. And regeneration, the concept of regeneration just distills that entire thing to like a single moment for like storytelling purposes, basically. And it's interesting to look at that not everybody looks at it that way. A lot of people will consider each Doctor to be a distinct being, more so than the Doctor being the same being all the way through that changes. Even though if the regeneration happened over the course of like a year, then people would say, yeah, okay, it's the same person. But just because it happens within the span of 10 seconds, people are like, well, it's an entirely different person, or maybe not, And I'm, there's no necessarily right or wrong way to think about this. Like, I definitely think the Doctor is the same person, but with different personalities and different, in many ways different, but with the same core being. But it's very interesting. This all grew out of a discussion about a single pronoun. Yeah, well, I guess if we have nothing else to talk about in this episode, let's read some stuff after we talk about... and by read some stuff, I mean read off IMDb some actors. Yeah, springing that on you, Keon, because we forgot to look these people up before the show. So anyway... Here we go. Crystal Yu, who plays Madame Ching. I'm doing it live.
I do them live every week, so welcome to my world.
I do them live most weeks now, but I'm doing it live as in we're deciding who to look up live. Anyway. Soulmates, Casualty. Wow, not a lot of acting credits here, actually. And Dream Team was her first acting credit in 2003. Only 22 acting credits, so... She was also in A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby, 2019. According to IMDb, she's known for that. Wow, she looks totally different in her professional headshot on IMDb, probably because she's not wearing that heavy eyeliner they gave her. She's not wearing that Straker-esque eyeliner that she had on the episode. Check out
Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast on which we're but on which we are taking a break from watching UFO. We have multiple UFO episodes that you can listen to. Well, I just looked up Arthur Lee, another person who looks completely different from how he looked in the episode. He doesn't have too many credits to his name, according to IMDb. He was in Hertz Rescue as his first role. Strike Back, The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret. I've never heard of that, but it sounds interesting. Lucky Man, Still Star-Crossed, White Dragon, The King and I. Total War, Three Kingdoms. Oh, it's a video game. He was in The Batman. And a couple other things that I guess I'm not going to mention. But yeah, that's a general overview, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's stay on the IMDb train and read some reviews.
You don't want to look up Key?
He has one acting credit.
Oh, it's this? I guess it would have to be. I guess it would have to be, yeah.
So it is this. His one acting credit is this, so there's nothing to look up.
It's interesting. It's his first role in. Did a good job. According to Doctor Who, he's...
underneath all this editing.
Yeah, I know. According to Doctor Who, he is a Doctor Who fan. I don't know why I have this Doctor Who article pulled up, but I do, so... I'll put it in the show notes. It's an article all about how this is his first role, actually. Anyway, yeah, now we can get to what we really want to do here, which, as we always do, seemingly do for the 13th Doctor's special episodes, we have decided to cherry pick some IMDb reviews. Now we're going to do one lukewarm one and then one, like, negative one as we usually do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'll start with the lukewarm one. It's like positive to lukewarm. I picked it because it has what I think is a reasonable take on this episode. It's a 7 out of 10. The title is Not That Gripping, Not That Bad by Tom640. Lots of people can't stand Chibnall, and I have to admit I'm not the biggest fan either, but it really wasn't that bad. It was just a bit forgettable. The plot is pretty simple. Sea Devils are woken up, need a MacGuffin to destroy the world, some things happen, Doctor saves the day. There's not a lot of character development, not a lot of character generally, and some of the lines are presented pretty flatly. I also swear to God that if the Doctor says, unless, one more time, I will throw something at the TV. But apart from that, it was fine. I mean, the CGI wasn't great, but it was perfectly adequate. It mostly looked okay. The plot bounced along fairly cheerfully. It was pretty much straight down the line generic Who. It didn't blow my mind or anything, but I definitely didn't hate it. Honestly, I'd probably give it a 6, but everyone's so damn negative, I feel like I had to give it a bit of a bounce. It's basically a Shakespeare Code level episode, which has a 7.6 on IMDb, and that's closer to what it deserves. Feels like a bunch of grumpy old men wagging their fingers at something that's just, fine. 1 out of 4 found this helpful.
Damn, it's a 25%. That's an F.
Yeah, okay, most of these would get an F on helpfulness by that logic.
Well, here we go. This review is entitled Peak Chibnall. It awarded the episode a 3 out of 10 stars.
How long is this review? Should I lean back in my chair or should I stay seated up, prepared to read an email when you're done?
It's not that long. I was deciding between reading this one and the one after it entitled Shockingly Bad, but this one seems a little more interesting. Anyway, here we go. This episode really encapsulated everything wrong with the Chibnall era of Doctor Who. Now pause. Either they just really wanted to emphasize everything wrong and wrote it twice, or that was just a mistake. Anyway, let's continue.
Oh, I thought that was you trying to pronounce it.
No, for once, my poor pronunciation, poor articulation was not to blame. But anyway, the dialogue is pure exposition, designed to cover up a storyline that is riddled with holes. In terms of editing, the episode actually felt unfinished, with numerous cuts to black. Some of the...
Oh, so that wasn't just us.
Some of the action, in quotes, scenes were just embarrassing and made no sense. Dan manages to swim out to sea and board a ship. The Doctor and crew, somehow conveniently not shown, swing themselves back on board the Sea Devil's ship. It just miraculously takes out several Sea Devils with one swing of a sword? Seriously, if it wasn't written for children, I'd think it was written by children. Okay, I'll stop making it so colorful. However, it is the Doctor and Yaz's alleged romance really takes the cake for bad writing. That's really ironic that there's dropped that should be... It's ironic that sentence is like not really grammatical. But anyway, let's continue here. I'm not opposed to the Doctor having a romance with a companion, but this just felt so forced. We're supposed to believe it just because Chibnall wants us to. Other than the characters suddenly being explicit about their feelings, there is nothing in the plot, the acting, or anything else that makes this relationship believable. Get rid of Chibnall ASAP. Well, I got good news for you, buddy.
Plot twist.
Yeah. He's on his way out. Finally. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. I like Chibnall. This era. Yeah, perhaps an unnecessarily harsh review. I think some of these are actually valid complaints, like the stupid editing, like, not stupid, but like just the weirdness of it cutting to black and just fading to black as if it's going to be an ad break. And yeah, some of the action is just bonkers, like with the directing. The relationship between the Doctor and Yaz has indeed been building. It is, I give it to this review. It is weird how explicit they're being about their feelings when they've kind of just been, skirting around all of this so far. But, hey. I guess in a way, there is, that is kind of a sad and just melancholy thing where it's like, you know, usually in movies and TV, like when you have a romance story or at least a romantic subplot, when the characters finally come clean about, you know, their feelings for each other, it's either just like a massive rejection that is either sad in an overblown way or played for laughs, or it's like a celebration and they get together type thing. But in this, it's a very subdued, like, this isn't going to happen. You know, they finally reveal it, and it's what we got is this. So in a way that almost hits home, like, you know, a lot more than it otherwise would.
Well,
but, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think Chibnall admitted that, like, this romance, whether or not you believe that Chibnall had the rest of his era planned out, which I think the indication is that he did to some extent, he admitted that this romance wasn't planned out and evolved from, like, their acting naturally. So, like, I guess he could have just not even acknowledged it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, this romance did develop more naturally than pretty much any other romance between the Doctor and another character on the show at all. You know, they were friends for like 2 years, 3 years, and then it like evolved into something more, you know. It's how my current relationship happened, but...
I agree. Especially, sorry, just to interject, especially considering that it took off more after the Doctor left and was not part of Yaz and Ryan and Graham's life for like that year or whatever it was. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it kind of really started, but yeah go on.
In a way, it's kind of a bummer that this happens like right at the end of the 13th Doctor's run, so like it perhaps, even though it feels more natural, it perhaps feels a little tacked on because we know we're never going to necessarily get more development than this. Whereas I think if we were in this position with another season of the 13th Doctor and Yaz coming, it wouldn't feel so tacked on, even if it was exactly being played identically to how it is now. Yeah,
that's true. But let me ask you, and I know we're going a little bit long here, especially considering we wanted to end this like 15 minutes ago, but like, would you, at this point, we can talk about this again after the final episode airs, but like, at this point, would you want another season of the 13th Doctor?
As well, so I think my answer to that question would be that Flux is like a good final season for the Doctor, and if in this hypothetical universe where we were getting 4 seasons of the Doctor and Flux was the next season,
I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Or if we cut Flux from the equation entirely, we have like a completely different 3rd season leading into a different 4th season. Yes, I think the way that it has been structured now, though, like with Flux being where it is, I think Flux necessarily feels like the high point on sort of like the hill, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have like a story, when you're learning the structures of a story in like elementary school and middle school and high school, you have that like hill, you know, you have the building and the climbing action and then the climax, and then there's like the falling action.
The denouement.
It feels like in that very simplified, admittedly, understanding of how stories work, that Flux is the climax, and that these are the denouement, falling action type stuff. That would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, maybe. Only time will tell, right? If Flux really was the sort of climax and coming to a head point.
Well, it looks like the next episode is going to have a lot going on, and will Chris Chibnall handle it all well? I don't know. I'm interested that like Joe Grant isn't coming back next week, because Katie Manning seems to be, out of all the possible old companions they could have brought back, like the most
eager,
like prolific. Yeah, she does like Big Finish like every week, and she like is always happy-go-lucky on Twitter talking about her time on Doctor Who. Like, feels like she would be, you know, a really key companion to bring back. Maybe Chris Chibnall's keeping some things under his hat still. Maybe he still has. It is a celebration of 100 years of the BBC, and maybe there are some companions or villains or people coming back that he has not necessarily revealed yet. And maybe, hopefully, the BBC does a better marketing push for the next episode than they did for Legend of the Sea Devils, because this episode landed on everybody's screens like a pebble in a pond.
They probably will.
But anyway, we have one more thing to cover, and that's Steven Schinder's email about Legend of the Sea Devils. Hey guys, I actually really enjoyed this special, even if it was a tad shorter than one would expect for a special. I thought I heard rumors about stuff being cut, though I don't know if that's true or not. Overall, it works well as a solid, fun adventure, the most refreshing thing post-Series 12 for me. When the Sea Devils said that they made this ship their own, I initially misheard the line as we mated our own and was confused for a moment. I really like how the Doctor took time to be vulnerable. Sure, she thinks she's going to die for good, but even with that aside, her experiences with River and others have shown her that time runs out for the people she gets close to, and she really does not want to get hurt again. Yas's reaction to the Doctor having been married is a reminder that there's still a lot that she does not know about the Doctor, plus there's still a lot that the Doctor does not know about herself. I quite like this direction of the Doctor thinking she can't date at this time, but it also feels very human when looking into the water she wishes that what she's experiencing could last forever. The return of Ace and Tegan got spoiled for me by official Doctor Who social media. Regardless, I'm very happy that they'll be back for the next special. I remember reading somewhere that Chibi wanted to bring Ace back, so Tegan was a bit more of a surprise. My guess is that the centenary special will probably come out in October. Side note, Kian and I was sitting there like, look, for me personally, I recognize Ace as Sophie Aldred, but like Tegan, Janet Fielding, I didn't recognize her at all. I was like, who is that?
Yeah, I didn't recognize either of them. When I looked more closely at it, I did recognize Ace. But yeah.
Anyway, regarding the Doctor Who audios you'll be listening to for Trust Your Doctor, I was kind of hoping you guys would venture beyond just the free audios, but I guess I'll go ahead and re-listen. I have most of the first 10 and haven't listened to them in 6 years. Weirdly, I know off the top of my head that you'd already done Phantasmagoria, so I'm curious about whether or not you'll be skipping that one. Following the premiere of Legend of the Sea Devils, the first episode of the podcast Doctor Who Redacted has come out on BBC Sounds. I was wondering if you guys would be interested in covering the story. The first episode's only 20 minutes, so maybe devoting an entire TYD episode for each episode wouldn't work. Perhaps when all 10 weekly episodes are out, you could review it as a whole. After all, that would be about when you were thinking of finishing the string of audio reviews. Perhaps Redacted would be a nice way to cap it off before going on hiatus again. Curious to hear what you think. Cheers, Stephen. Yeah, we talked about this briefly on the final episode of Inevitable before the hiatus of like, we talked about it off recording too, like, would be dumb not to cover Doctor Who Redacted now that it's coming out. But on the same token, yeah, each episode seems pretty short, so I don't know if that's going to give us a lot of content for Trust Your Doctor.
I know, in true Trust Your Doctor fashion, we have not decided ultimately how we're... Okay, well, but not fully.
We had decided before coming into this episode to do Doctor Who Redacted instead of the audio dramas, but seeing as the episodes are all probably going to be so short, so we've taken a sidebar for freaking 5 minutes to figure out what exactly we'll want to do. And so I think the solution we've come up with, we came into this believing we're going to do Redacted once a week. We learned Redacted is only 20 minutes. We actually learned that before we recorded the episode, but neglected to talk about it before we started recording, so that's on us. But I think we're both in favor of doing what Steven suggested, which is what we would have ended up coming up with independently in the 10-minute conversation, because we always come up with the most insane plans, to do the 10 audio dramas as originally planned, and then we'll do an 11th episode that'll do Doctor Who Redacted as a whole, as a kind of bookend to the season. So we bookend the season with 13th Doctor things. There we go.
Yep. Any questions?
Everybody good. Everybody good. Also, to answer the question of why are we doing the free audio, Stephen, it's because we're both broke. Okay?
Maybe, yeah. I'm not broke, I'm just cheap.
Okay, I'm not broke either, but... Okay, I'm not broke, but it's like expensive paying for 10 audio dramas.
Right.
You know, those are the kind of things you need to build a backlog of over the years. So anyway, we're starting with Big Finish next week. We're going to the beginning. We're going to where Big Finish started. And until then, if you'd like to email us, Thank you for reaching out, Stephen. And if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decadavevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Legend of the Sea Devils. You can find us on YouTube at Decade of Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts like Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. The next time we're going to be listening to The Sirens of Time. But until then, the end.